Thank you, Jet. Definitely a much more decisive victory from Coast.
Yep.
I mean, reminiscent early game of their game yesterday, but they were able to close this one out. And I think that's partially due to the fact that they had a team composition that allowed them to be more decisive in their engages with the Jarvan and the Aurelia. Definitely had a bit more of a front line, and then still had the ability to, to stun up with Xerath and things like that and avoid picks.
Yeah, well, one thing is you've got a comp that does two things really well. This is what I like about having Corki, Janna, Xerath, is you've got this sort of poke pattern you can fall back to, throw out Qs or Rs and solve people up, and you've got this nice holding pattern where progress is made, you don't have to force the issue, which then means when it does look really enticing, you can go and it's probably the right idea. I'm glad that they had these two different ways to play the composition.
Yeah, it's kind of a fallback too, because in case Aurelia gets shut down, even though she wasn't this game, they played really well around that and got him fed, you still have a ton of wave clear and siege, so that Aurelia will hit those item breakpoints and scale over Renekton.
I do have to give a lot of props to Chris. It was mentioned that he hadn't died yet in the split until the very end. Exactly. As soon as it was mentioned, he dies at the last minute there. But fantastic play out of him and synergy with Impaler. That's great to see that, coming over from EU, they're still able to, build that synergy so quickly.
Right, I mean, they'd been playing together throughout the expansion tournament. This is a lineup we'd seen for a while, so they had some time off. It's not like the Team Impulse thing where it's literally the first games that ever playing together, but certainly there's going to be some rust. Hey, they did a pretty good job, so good for that.
Yeah, they hadn't been scrimming lately because of the visa things and coming over. But I do have to say, Impaler played really well yesterday and today in terms of his gank timings and his individual skill. Shot calling, maybe yesterday he was really tired. Today, also kind of, you could see he was very sluggish to just kind of drag it out, being like, we are in the lead, let's just sit here in the driver's seat, we can go 10 miles per hour, but we're still going to get there. Yeah,
so now let's jump over to the other side of the rift. Let's look at Winterfox there. Definitely today a lot more of the sub-squad tendencies. What we would expect out of a sub-roster. Some more solo QS type plays and things.
Well, that's the thing, is they're making all these high-risk plays, and sometimes when you go for the 50-50, you're a winner fox, sometimes you're a loser fox. It just depends on who's there and how aggressive you played. Flares honestly really looked very odd that game. He had played a really controlled game one yesterday. Here, he ults under the turret to take 2 turret shots and walk away, and then is sitting at the front of turret range I can hit you almost, but he's at half HP the entire time. If a counter gank shows up, you're gonna lose. Let the lane push back out to you. Make Aurelia walk up, because she literally cannot see us from range. Make her walk in range of a Lee Sin Q. Actually bait the gank out. A bit over-aggressive for that kind of play, and that's what happens. They beat Gravity because, all the ganks worked out. All the roams worked out. Great, a 4,000 gold, let's win the game. Well, these ones didn't work out. Well, welcome to what that looks like.
Yeah, and Chris also still had Flash at that time, so he was extremely safe, and he was able to hold on to it even through that gank. I really feel like Flares was playing way too aggressive against the Aurelia, trying to push that lead as Renekton without proper ward coverage around the sides. You can walk up, use all that pressure, and then just pop one into the tri-brush, make sure somebody isn't coming. But it was good on Impaler to play to the aggressive lanes. And it's something that I know he was talking about in an interview that I saw with him, where he was talking about this season is not so much just going and kind of ganking lanes all the time from the side. It's more of playing to your aggressive lanes, or if your lane is pushed all the way up, you sit in the brush and you wait for the counter gank and kind of read it beforehand. So it's not so much forcing the issue.
I do have to say, though, that I appreciate the aggressiveness from the sub-squad on Winterfox. Although, as you stated, Freak, unfortunately, they didn't all work out this time, and then therefore you put yourself in a hole as a team that doesn't necessarily have the synergy or the time spent with each other to operate in a losing scenario. But I do have to say, I love the fact that they had a great counter gank bottom. Impaler even said we weren't expecting Shorter Ace to play that aggressively in the top lane. They had a slight misplay there, and that is what cost them the double kill. But it very well could have turned out in their favor there.
Well, this is the age-old adage for teams that are barely scraping together. Team Impulse played their pick and ban this way, both today and yesterday. Hey, go try to win your lanes. This was the direction that Winterfox had. This is what Deficia was talking about with Meet Your Makers back in game one, where it's well, we have a new mid laner as of yesterday, and we're facing SK. This is going to be rough. You're not going to win the 35-minute rotational game. It's just so unlikely that's going to happen. So you play the 60-40 aggressive early game and say, 40% chance we win this game if all our stuff works out, because that's our best chance of winning. And that coin flip worked in game one. It didn't work here.
I want to touch on the analogy that Kobe brought up in game, which was that of the con artist. I thought it was great. So we have a replay to illustrate this, which is what he was talking about in the mid lane tier 2 turret. And Freak, I'm going to let you take it away. We'll discuss afterwards.
Okay, so let's pull the replay up on your screen, and it's the unfortunate thing. It's the solo queue mentality. Of course, it's Winterfox doing this. Pabelter is trying so hard to keep the team alive. You can see in the bottom corner that they have a deadly sin on the roster. This is a turret that Coast is getting whether Winterfox likes it or not. Now, Winterfox can choose to give away some kills on top of this, or they can choose to give away the turret and wait around. So roll the clip out, and it's a bunch of heroics. Pabelter is going to go for a wave clear. He can almost get Mad Life by the stun. It unfortunately slightly misses. Glebe shows up. They try again. Oh, look, a knockup chain. Oh, look, Pabelter got one shot. He's down to 1/3 health. He has to burn flash and heal, but Chris kills him anyway. And they can chase Impaler, and they can get one kill back. But you can't expect to go positive in a fight like this. The turret's already too low. They're ahead of you in gold. It's the standard lemming mentality of, but we don't want to give them that turret for free. But your options are a turret plus 3 kills or just a turret.
Hey, and they end up blowing pretty much every summoner spell across the board on the team as well. So when you look at then future fights, you're setting yourself even further behind in your ability to maybe make a pick and get yourself back into the game. And so what I want to kind of look at more closely is, from a team perspective, from a shot calling perspective, we need where is the line drawn in which you say we need to give these things up because we are making this game unwinnable?
Yeah, it's purely a point of game theory. Now, Aiden, you know that I like to contest for dragons that I shouldn't be, but in general, basically, it just honestly comes down to game theory and thinking quickly. So it's okay, games with a 4,000 gold deficit are hard to win. Games with a 5,000 gold deficit are even harder to win. And that's an example of look, there's no way you win this fight. There's no upside to defending this turret. You just have to be another 1,000 gold behind. I'm sorry that sucks for you guys. I'm sorry that Lee Sin got picked. But that is the eventuality, the inevitability of that first pick happening. You can't fix that. You've just gone down another 1,000 gold. Okay, now play from a 4,000 gold deficit. And that's just the decision you have to realize, that this is not a winnable fight. Yep, you have to give up something else, but then play from that disadvantage.
Yeah, the way I found is you basically look at what they're getting and you go, I don't care that they have that. We have this going for us. I don't care that they're going to get 5% movement speed from Dragon. We have Baron ticking and 4 people there to contest the Dragon. We want 5 there. It's not a good play to make because what we're giving up isn't that much. We could trickle in, and then it'd be completely out of hand, and then you gave up 3 Baron buffs on you, you gave up 3 kills, then you lose turrets. So just kind of seeing the consequences of your actions before they unfold.
And that's where we see the biggest differences between those veterans and the novice players rather here in the LCS. And will these novice teams be able to pick up that? Is that something that can be learned?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm. Okay. Yes.
Great. We answered your question.
I also believe it can be learned. Is it something that can be learned over the course of a singular split? At what point? How far down this road do you have to go? Is this something that you need a coach to sit there and remind you of after every game? Let me point this out. This is an instance in which you gave up something more than you needed to. You needed to accept defeat here and make your move somewhere else. You needed to pivot, as Irene says, into another positive. Or is it something that you just have to basically get you have to build your own innate sense of game awareness where, all right, that is not a net positive for me. If anything, it's a net negative. Let's move elsewhere.
Play the game, figure out what everything is worth, have somebody call you on your mistakes, and also, it doesn't have to be a coach all the time. Your players in-game, your teammates with you, can go ahead and check you. I think that's kind of the best shot calling is when there's a shot caller who has almost the decisive call, but then somebody feeding him information and kind of checking him, being that's not a good call, rethink it.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm sorry, finish your point.
No, go ahead.
It's exactly what Team Liquid does. It's exactly what I Will Dominate said. The coach comes to him and he says, Dominate, you are the main shot caller. You're the guy who makes all these calls, but everyone else feed information, call you on stuff. If you miss something, fix it, right? Everyone else, especially, pay attention. Call him on things when he's oh no, we don't have flashes, don't do this. You're right, sorry. Yes. Exactly the way you should be running a team. I think that is exactly perfect. Team Liquid is suddenly my new favorite team in the NA LCS because I think they are so well set up for success on all these different fronts.
Yeah, because you don't always know what summoner spells are available. If the support's the shot caller, he's going to be don't have smite, don't have flash, can't contest, things like that. Feeding the information is very, very important. And if you're silent, they're going to have to play off instinct, and you don't always know the ultimate timers. If somebody has ulti in 10, call it and then be all right, we can hold off for 5 seconds before we engage, and then we can start moving towards them and then really start it.
the question then is when Winterfox gets their full roster along with their coach, because they're operating without the coach in the country at the moment too, will they be able to patch up those, those kind of holes in the ship as quickly as they need to in order to move up the standings? Now back over to Coast though, looking at the fact that they played, rather well yesterday, but then struggled in their late game shot calling, played rather well today. However, we do have to add the caveat of probably not against the strongest of teams in the NA LCS based on what we've seen so far.
Sure.
How do we believe they're going to stack up against the likes of TSM, Cloud9, even though they had that loss yesterday, probably still considered one of the top teams, Team Liquid, things like that?
Yeah, I think it is a tough road for Coast, right? They came in as the last team to qualify for the LCS. They didn't win in the promotion tournament. They were the second team under now Gravity in the expansion tournament. You expect them to be underdogs coming into the beginning. Now we see some teams make really big rises. I think Cursed Team Liquid is my big example where I think they're going to be much better this split than before. And it's not because they made huge roster changes. Okay, they have Piglet, but like even without Piglet, I think they're still doing really well. They won a game already, and they're, I think, again, well set up to improve. If Coast can just figure out what improvement looks like, how you improve as a team, how to improve their players specifically. You hear people like Pobalter saying, yeah, once I started playing with Helios, he helped me fix all my mistakes and I became a better player. All this kind of growth can happen with the right teammates and the right staff.
Yeah, well, definitely a step in the right direction for Team Coast. We are going to take a break while Team Liquid and Counterlogic Gaming take to the stage for our third match of the day. So keep it tuned right here.
Tracking beacon right now on Impaler.
Whoa, flares!
Oh, what? A lot of aggression just to save the turret, but they might lose their lives and the turret on this. The Buster shot comes out for the quick reset.
Nami. She flashed. I can go. I'm on Nami. Okay. Stun Tris. Okay, good job.
He doesn't get a chance to Zanyas on this one. They obliterate Jezus. He's out for 40 seconds. This is how big Chris is. But
congratulations to Team Coast. They do make up for yesterday.